My ex-wife slid the settlement papers across the table and tapped one line with her nail. It said she wanted 50% of my business. No speech, no please, just that line. I picked up the pen, signed, and laughed. Not a polite laugh either, a real one, the kind that makes people stare. Her lawyer blinked like he saw a ghost. My ex-wife, Tanya, smiled like she just won a prize on live TV. She leaned forward, eyes bright. That was easy. Easy, sure. My own attorney sat still, hands folded, watching me like he was waiting for a signal. Tanya pushed her chair back like she was done with me forever. She already had her phone in her hand, like she was about to text someone, "I got him." Her lawyer cleared his throat. "You understand what you just signed?" I nodded and laughed again. Tanya's smile twitched. "What's so funny?" I looked at that line one more time, then I looked at her. And I thought if she had asked one simple question, none of this would happen. But she didn't ask. She demanded. So I slid the papers back and said, "Congrats." You ever see someone celebrate too early? Because the next thing I said changed the whole room. What do you think I knew that they didn't? Her lawyer stared at the pen like it was a weapon. "Are you okay?" he asked. I nodded. "Oh, I'm great." Tanya's smile got bigger. She reached for the papers like she wanted to hug them. Then I added, "In fact, I'm going to frame this." That made her pause. "Frame it," Tanya said. "Why would you frame divorce papers?" Her lawyer's eyes narrowed, like he finally noticed something was off. My attorney still didn't speak. He just watched Tanya, calm like a lifeguard watching someone run toward a rip current. Tanya tapped the table, fast, annoyed. "Stop stalling, we're done here." Her lawyer flipped through the pages like he lost a piece. I didn't stop her, I didn't argue, I didn't ask for anything. That's what scared them. Tanya stood up, smooth and proud. "I'll have my people contact your people." I laughed under my breath. Her lawyer leaned in closer, voice low. "You're signing away half a company." I looked him in the eyes. "I know." He waited for me to panic. I didn't. Tanya grabbed her purse and turned toward the door, like she was walking out of a store with a free item. And right before she left, I said one sentence that made her stop mid-step. What would you do if your ex smiled like that and you knew the smile was about to disappear? Tanya turned back, one hand still on the door handle. "What?" she snapped. I leaned back in my chair and said, "Because you asked for the business, not what comes with it." That was it. No long story, no warning. Her smile flickered, just for a second, like a light bulb trying to stay on. Her lawyer stopped flipping pages. My attorney finally lifted his chin, like, "Yes, we're here now." Tanya narrowed her eyes. "What comes with it?" I didn't answer. You ever notice how some people get loud when they're confused? Tanya did that. "Don't play games," she said. "It's half, that's the deal." Her lawyer swallowed. Not like a normal swallow, like he was trying to push down a bad feeling. My attorney shifted in his seat for the first time all day. He looked at Tanya's lawyer and said, calm and clear, "Let's confirm the request." Tanya's heel bounced under the table now, faster than before. Her confidence was still there, but it had a crack in it. Her lawyer asked, "Are we finished?" I smiled, almost. Because almost is where the truth lives. And the truth was coming next, loud and clean. When my attorney asked the question out loud, Tanya didn't just answer, she shouted. And that shout is what set the trap. Do you think Tanya should have slowed down right there? My attorney finally spoke, like he had been saving his voice for one moment. Just to confirm, he said, "You're requesting exactly 50% of Harrow & Co. Marketing, LLC. Tanya snapped, "Yes." Not yes, not "I think so." Yes, like she was daring someone to challenge her. Her lawyer gave her a quick side look, like, maybe don't yell in a legal meeting. Tanya didn't care. I pushed the papers across the table again, neat and calm. "Congrats," I said. "You got what you wanted." Tanya smirked. See, that wasn't so hard. Her lawyer picked up the signed copy and scanned it, fast. Then he scanned it again, slower. He was hunting for a reason why I would sign without a fight. My attorney asked one more time, 50%, correct? Tanya pointed at the line. 50%. Then I stood up. Not angry, not shaking, just standing. That made Tanya's eyes follow me. Her lawyer sat up straight. Even the receptionist outside stopped typing, like she could feel the air change. I rested my hands on the chair and said the sentence that hit like a hammer. Perfect, I said, then you also get 50% of the liabilities. What word do you think her lawyer said next? Her lawyer blinked. What liabilities? Tanya laughed, sharp. He's bluffing. I shrugged. The ones you didn't ask about. That's when her smile started to die. Not all at once. It was slow, like someone lowering a mask. Her lawyer's pen hovered over his notepad, then stopped. Tanya tried to get control back. This is nonsense. Half the business is half the money. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. My attorney slid a folder forward, but he didn't open it yet. He just placed it there, like a warning sign. Her lawyer's eyes flicked to the folder. He looked back at me. Explain. I shook my head. You didn't ask for an explanation. You asked for half. Tanya's jaw tightened. What are you talking about, Derek? Hearing my name from her mouth felt weird, like she remembered I was a person, not a wallet. Her lawyer flipped to the back pages again, faster now, like he was trying to outrun a mistake. Tanya leaned toward him. Tell him to stop. Her lawyer didn't answer her right away. That was the first time Tanya looked scared. Not sad, not hurt. Scared. Because when your own lawyer goes quiet, it's never a good sign. And then my attorney opened the folder. What do you think was inside it? Before I tell you what was in that folder, you need one fast thing about us. I'm Derek, 36. I built my marketing agency from a laptop and cheap coffee. Tanya was my wife for 6 years. If life was a game, Tanya didn't just want to play. She wanted to win and post the score. From the outside, my life looked loud. Nice office. Big clients. Team meetings in glass rooms. A local magazine did a little feature on young business owners. And yeah, I drove a flashy car for about 6 months, like an idiot. Tanya loved that car. Not because it was mine. Because people looked at her when she got out of it. So when we divorced, she didn't ask, how do we end this? She asked, what do I get? She wanted a trophy and a check. And here's the part that matters. Tanya did not care how the business worked. She cared what it looked like. That's why she pushed for half. Half sounds powerful. Half sounds fair. Half sounds like a win. But half is also a trap if you don't know what you're splitting. And Tanya didn't know. She didn't even try. So when my attorney opened that folder, it wasn't just papers. It was the part of the story Tanya never bothered to read. Would you sign something that you didn't fully understand if you felt angry enough? Back when we were still married, Tanya started calling my business ours the moment the revenue hit $50,000 a month. That number changed everything. Not for me. I was already working like crazy. But for Tanya, it was like a switch flipped. She started saying things like, we should upgrade. We deserve better. This is our season. She didn't build the agency. She didn't stay up late fixing client problems. She didn't handle calls when ads crashed at midnight. But she loved the rewards. Trips. Nice dinners. New clothes. And the bragging. If you asked Tanya what we did, she couldn't explain it. But she could tell you what car we drove. And what restaurant we went to. And what brand was on the bag in the photo. Then she wanted more. She said, put me on the business. I asked why. She said, because I'm your wife. I said, that's not a job title. That argument never ended. It just changed shapes. And one day, Tanya said the sentence that told me the marriage wasn't about love anymore. She said, "If you don't give me what I want, I'll take it." Take it. Like I was a store. Like I was a target. And that's when the SUV fight happened. Do you think wanting half of something you didn't build is greed, or is it normal in marriage? Tanya wanted a new SUV. Not a normal one. A big one with every upgrade, like a rolling living room. She slid the brochure across the kitchen counter and said, "Buy it." I said, "We can talk about it." She said, "No, buy it, and put it in the business name." That's when I said no. A simple no. Tanya's face changed like I flipped a switch. "Why not?" she demanded. "Because the business isn't your personal piggy bank," I said. Tanya's eyes went hard. "It's our business." I shook my head. "You don't even know our top 3 clients." She slammed the brochure down. "So you're calling me useless now?" I wasn't trying to be mean. I was trying to be real. Tanya leaned closer and spoke through her teeth. "If you won't give it to me, then I'll take it in court." There it was. Not a conversation. A threat. That night, she didn't sleep next to me. She slept on her phone. I heard her whispering in the hallway like she didn't want me to catch the words. And a few days later, I found out who she was talking to. Her friend. The one who loved drama like oxygen. The friend who handed Tanya the plan that led to those settlement papers. Want to guess what that friend told her to do? Her friend's name was Bria. Bria always had a smart idea, even when it was cruel. Bria loved being the voice in someone's ear. Tanya met Bria for lunch and came home with a grin that didn't match her eyes. She said, "I know what I'm going to do." I asked, "What?" She said it like a script. "I'm going to demand half. You'll fold. You always fold." That line hit me hard because it was wrong. I didn't fold. I carried. I kept my voice calm. "Who told you that?" Tanya shrugged. "It doesn't matter." It mattered. Because Bria didn't care if Tanya got hurt. Bria cared about the story she could tell later. I didn't argue. I just listened. Inside, I was tired. Not broken. Tired. And when you're tired, you stop trying to convince people who don't want to understand. So when Tanya said she would demand half in court, I didn't panic. Because 2 years before that lunch, I did something small that Tanya never noticed. Something boring. Something business. And boring is exactly where smart people hide safety. Tanya thought I was trapped. But I had already built a shield. Do you think planning ahead makes you paranoid or prepared? 2 years earlier, I sat in a small office with my accountant and my attorney. I was excited back then. The business was growing fast. Clients were paying on time. I felt unstoppable. My accountant looked at me and said, "Growth is great, but risk grows too." I laughed. "We're fine." He didn't laugh back. My attorney said, "If something goes wrong, you don't want one company holding everything." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He said, "Split the business." I remember feeling annoyed, like they were trying to ruin my good mood with paperwork. But then my accountant told me a story about another owner who lost everything because one problem became everyone's problem. One lawsuit. One missed payment. One contract penalty. And the whole thing collapsed like a wet box. My attorney said 2 boxes, 2 truths. Help yourself now so future you doesn't suffer. I listened. We split it. Operating company for the clients and profit. Holding company for the lease, loans, and heavy stuff. It felt boring. It felt like nothing happened. Until divorce happened. Then it felt like the smartest choice I ever made. Because Tanya didn't demand half of the operating company. She demanded half of the holding company. And when my attorney opened that folder in the conference room, it was proof. Proof Tanya chose the wrong box. Would you have done the paperwork, or ignored it like most people do? Here's how the two companies worked, plain and simple. The operating company was the engine. It held the client contracts. It collected payments. It paid my team. It made the profit. The holding company was the weight. It held the office lease. It held the business loan. It signed the big commitments. And Tanya demanded 50% of the holding company because it had the name everyone recognized. Harrow & Co. Marketing, LLC. It sounded like the whole thing. She wanted that name. She wanted to say, I own half. But the real money? It moved through the engine company. Tanya didn't know that. She didn't ask. She never asked. She just wanted half of the label on the jar. The day of the settlement meeting, she pointed at that name like it was a jackpot. She didn't see the fine print. She didn't see the schedule. She didn't see the guarantees. And the holding company had a monster inside it. A monster made of numbers. A monster that wakes up every month and demands to be fed. And once your name is on the ownership line, that monster knows where to find you. Can you think of a time someone grabbed something shiny without knowing what it cost? The monster was not a secret. It was written down in clean black ink. $240,000. That was the business loan balance. We used it to scale fast. Hire staff. Build systems. Keep the agency running during slow seasons. Then there was the office lease. 3 years. Big space. Big rent. Big penalties if you left early. And then, the worst part. A personal guarantee. That means if you're listed as an owner and the company can't pay, the lender can come after you personally. Not your half. You. Your paycheck. Your savings. Your life. Most people don't read those words. They see business and think profit. They don't see business and think responsibility. Tanya demanded half of the holding company, so she demanded half of that responsibility. And yes, my attorney made sure it was written clearly. No tricks. No sneaky language. Just plain terms. Tanya's lawyer should have explained it. But Tanya was rushing him. Talking over him. Pushing him to close the deal. So in that meeting, the moment I said liabilities, her lawyer finally started understanding. And Tanya finally started fearing. Because if her name stayed on that line, the bills were coming. And the bills did not care about her feelings. What would you do if you realized your win could cost you real money? Tanya stormed out of the conference room like she was walking off a stage. She was already dialing her phone. I could hear her voice through the door, bright and loud. You will not believe what I just got, she said. She didn't even wait to hear the other person speak. She just talked. I stayed seated. I watched her go. My attorney closed the folder and sat back, calm. Tanya's lawyer did not follow her right away. He stayed behind. Too quiet. He stood there, papers in hand, eyes locked on the signature line like it was on fire. Then he looked at me. Why did you sign so easily? He asked. I smiled. Because she never reads the fine print. His jaw tightened. This could get ugly. I shrugged. It already was. This is just fair. He opened his mouth like he wanted to argue. Then he stopped. Because he saw my attorney reaching into the folder again. My attorney slid one extra page across the table. The page Tanya's lawyer had skipped while Tanya was pushing him to finish. The title was big and bold. Debt Schedule and Personal Guarantee Acknowledgement. Tanya's lawyer stared at the page like it was a snake. He read it once. Then again, slower. His face changed. And he didn't say a speech. He didn't threaten. He didn't bluff. He only whispered one word. What do you think that word was? He whispered, "Oh." Just that. Oh. Like he finally saw the cliff edge he was standing on. He stared at my attorney. "She signed this?" My attorney nodded. "She demanded half. We documented what that meant." He looked back at me. "And you let her?" I said, "She's an adult." He swallowed again, harder. Then he gathered the papers like he was cleaning up a spill. "Listen," he said, voice tight. "She may try to claim she didn't understand." I kept my tone calm. "She brought you. That was her understanding." He rubbed his forehead. For the first time, he looked tired, too. He muttered, "This is going to be a problem." I said, "It's going to be a bill." He flinched at that. Because he knew. Bills don't care about drama. Bills don't care about pride. Bills just show up. Then he stood and walked out, faster than Tanya did. My attorney exhaled and leaned back. "She'll call you." I nodded. Not yet. Because first, something else had to happen. Something that makes people feel trapped. The first notice. The first payment demand. The first time Tanya would realize the word owner can hurt. And when that notice hit, it would hit her name too. Have you ever watched someone run toward a mistake and not be able to stop them? The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Tanya didn't text me. She didn't call. She didn't show up to the office. That told me she was bragging. Because Tanya only goes quiet when she's busy collecting applause. Meanwhile, I went to work. I kept meetings. I checked numbers. I paid my team. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just waited. Because I knew how this story works. At first, the person thinks they won. Then the bill arrives. Then the panic starts. My attorney messaged me one line. "The notices will go out this week." I read it and put my phone down. That night, I stared at the framed photo on my shelf. Not a happy photo, just a picture of my office. The one Tanya loved to show off. I thought about the moment she tapped the paper with her nail, like she was tapping a prize. I thought about how fast she said yes, how loud, how proud. I also thought about something else. Tanya didn't just want half of a company. She wanted half of my peace. And that made me colder than I wanted to be. Then, on a Thursday morning, my receptionist buzzed my line. Her voice was nervous. "Derek," she said, "there's a delivery for Tanya. It has your company name on it." I closed my eyes. There it was. The first notice. Do you think Tanya opened it alone or in front of someone to show off? Tanya opened it in front of someone. I know because I got the call less than 10 minutes later. My phone rang and the screen showed her name. I answered, "Hello." She didn't say hello back. She screamed, "What did you do?" I held the phone away from my ear. Then I brought it back. "What are you talking about?" "The lease," she shouted. "The loan, the payments. My name is on this." I kept my voice steady. "You demanded half ownership." "You set me up," she yelled. "You trapped me." I said, "No, you trapped yourself. You just assumed I was desperate." Tanya breathed hard, like she was running. Then she snapped, "You knew I didn't understand that." I paused. "Tanya, you brought a lawyer." Silence. Not soft silence. Heavy silence. Like her brain was finally catching up to her mouth. Then she tried a different angle. "Fix it," she said, quieter now. "Take my name off." I asked, "Why would I do that?" "Because it's not fair," she said. I almost laughed again. Almost. Because fairness was never her goal. Winning was. And now winning had a monthly payment attached. She whispered, "I can't afford this." I said, "Then you should not have demanded it." She hung up. But it wasn't over. Not even close. Because Tanya hates losing in private. She needed to look like a winner in public. And she tried to do that anyway. What do you think she told her family that weekend? Tanya went to her family's dinner like nothing was wrong. She needed an audience. She needed people to clap. She needed to be the hero of her own story. I wasn't there. But people talk. One of my employees knew Tanya's cousin's boyfriend. Small world. Big mouths. Later my employee told me what happened. Tanya stood up with a glass and said, "Ladies, always get what you deserve." She smiled while everyone watched. Then she said it. "I took half his company." People cheered. Some of them did that loud laugh people do when they want to be part of the moment. Tanya soaked it up. And for about 48 hours she probably felt powerful again. Then the second notice hit. Another letter. Another payment reminder. Another cold list of numbers. Tanya's cousin asked, "So do you get half the money now?" Tanya froze. Because that's the question she couldn't answer. Not without saying the truth. She tried to laugh it off. But her laugh cracked. Someone joked, "So when do we get the party?" And that's when Tanya admitted the part she did not plan for. She said, "I also got half the debt." The room went quiet. No more cheering. No more speeches. Just chewing. And Tanya's face went red. That silence is painful when you built your whole plan on applause. That night, Tanya called me again. Not screaming this time. Her voice was tight, like she was holding something back. And what she said next shocked me. "What would you offer your ex if you realized you messed up this badly?" "Derek," she said, slow, "we need to talk." I stayed quiet for a second, on purpose. Silence makes people fill the gap. Tanya hated gaps. "I didn't know," she said. "I didn't know I was signing up for all this." I kept my voice calm. "You didn't want to know, you just wanted half." She breathed in like it hurt. Then she dropped her pride a little. "I'll sign it back," she said, "for 80,000. I almost dropped my phone. 80,000. For a problem she created. I laughed, small and sharp. Not to be cruel. Just because it was so wild. "Tanya," I said, "you want me to pay you to undo what you demanded?" She snapped, "You're acting like I'm the villain." I didn't answer that. I let it hang. Then I said, "Make it 10,000 and we'll talk." Her voice jumped. 10, are you joking?" "No," I said. "You wanted half. Now you want out? That's the price of getting out fast." She called me cold. She called me petty. Then she tried the last weapon she had. "Fine," she said. "I'll take you back to court." I said, "Please do." She paused. I added, "Bring the papers you made me sign." Silence again. Then she ended the call. And for the first time, I wondered if she would actually do it. If she would go to a judge and try to cry her way out. But Tanya's lawyer was not going to risk that. Because the papers were clean. And Tanya's yes was loud. The next morning her lawyer called me. And his tone told me everything. What do you think he said first? Apology, threat, or begging? Her lawyer called early. His voice was careful, like he was walking across thin ice. "Derek," he said, "we need a practical solution." I almost laughed. Practical, now. He continued, "My client is upset." I said, "She demanded half ownership." He sighed. "She didn't understand the personal guarantee." I kept my voice flat. "She signed it. She pushed you to finish. You heard her." Long pause. Then he said, "She wants to unwind the ownership transfer." I said, "I know. She offered 80,000. That was funny." He cleared his throat. "She's not in a position to pay the obligations. She's afraid." I didn't feel joy. I felt tired again. Not broken. Tired. I said, "Tell her the offer is 10,000. He hesitated. "She says that's insulting." I said, "So is demanding half of something you didn't build." Another pause. He tried to sound firm. "If this goes to court, it could get messy." I said, "Then let it get messy. Bring the papers she made me sign." He stopped talking, because he knew what the judge would ask. Did she read it? Did she sign it? Did she have counsel? Yes. Oh, Bream. He finally said, softer, "She may accept a lower amount." I waited. Then he asked, "What is your final number?" I said, 12,000. He exhaled like I hit him in the chest. "Send the paperwork," I said, "today." He said he would, and I hung up. But it still wasn't finished. Because Tanya had one more move left. She didn't file in court. She did something else. Something that could have hurt my business for real. And I had to stop it fast. What would you do if your ex tried to punish you through your employees? Tanya showed up at my office. Not to talk. To take. She walked in like she owned the place. Because on paper she did. She went straight to my receptionist and said, "I need access to the accounts." My receptionist looked at me through the glass. Wide eyes. I stepped out and said, "Stop." Tanya turned. "I'm an owner. I have rights." I nodded. "You do, and you have responsibilities. Remember those?" She flinched. Then she tried a new act. The wounded act. "You're ruining me," she said. "You're making me look stupid." I kept my voice low. "You did that when you demanded half without asking one question." Her eyes watered. Then the anger came back. "I'm going to tell everyone what you did," she hissed. I said, "Tell them the whole thing. Tell them you shouted yes. Tell them you signed the guarantee." Her mouth opened, then closed. Because she knew the story sounds different when the fine print is included. That afternoon, her lawyer emailed the new documents. Tanya signed the reversal. She gave up the 50%. For 12,000. Not 80. Not 50. 12. I paid it. Not because she deserved it. Because peace has a price, and I wanted my life back. A week later, I saw Tanya's social post. She wrote something vague about toxic men. No details. No numbers. Because the numbers would expose her. And that's how it ended. She wanted half my business. She got half my problems. And that's why I laughed. Now tell me honestly, if your ex demanded half your business, would you sign like I did, or fight it in court? And was I smart, or was I too petty?